Buddy. Let's see who's here. Who's not here? The Barbara's here. Good. She popped in. Who's missing? Jonathan. I don't see Jonathan or Nyla. But okay, it's a couple minutes after. All right, everybody. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. So we're missing in terms of the roll call. So Nyla's not here. Jonathan. It may come late. Okay, so we don't have an outside presentation, but one of our committee reports is going to include some information, the slide deck for the survey we did in College Heights. So welcome everybody. Let's get going. Kevin, we'll start with the Resource Recovery Division updates. Everybody should have gotten that. I sent it out in advance. Barbara, if you could go ahead and also make notes the way you did last time, that was really helpful. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, Kevin, you want to go ahead?
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'll start with our updates. So the methane concentration study of the OCF was conducted on June 7, led by UMD. And based on the initial result that I got from Stephen, the facility was within the acceptable limits of methane, but we will have to wait for the results that will be produced by UMD. Next, the third waste sort at the OCF.
Kevin, which facility? You said the
OCF.
facility.
Organic compost facility.
Okay.
Yeah, organics.
Okay.
Yep. Sorry.
Okay.
Yep. So Kevin,
what about the
other? Go ahead, Barbara.
Okay. What about the other places that they examined?
I have no updates, Barbara. But I think David said that
because we went around to a whole bunch of different places where for them to do the measurements.
Yeah, we were at College Park, we at Sandy Hill, briefly went by Bowie, Bel Air, and like you said, we don't have any results yet, but they were measuring the whole time, so it'll be interesting to see how those other facilities did. And I think they were talking about going over to the Brown Station after lunch, but we were heading home at that time, so I'm not sure if they actually got there or not.
The Brown Station they weren't allowed into, so they could only do it as a drive-by because Brown Station would not let them in. For some reason, that didn't make sense to me.
I don't think that was on the original list, Barbara. So that's probably why they probably had to get approval for that to be on site, I assume. Marilyn probably can address that.
Yeah, we haven't received the signed the non-disclosure agreement from UMD, so that's why the team cannot do the study at the Brown Station Road yet.
Kevin, I mean, I know it's on the list, but so it's confusing to us. It's not clear where the holdup is, whether it's the University or Maryland, or it appears there may be two federal agencies involved in this, from what I understand.
I communicated with Professor Dickerson to give us the signed document. And to date, I haven't received the document.
Okay, so you gave the signed document to him and you haven't received it back?
Yes, we provided a non-disclosure document to UMD. And
Okay,
we're waiting for the signed version of the document.
And it's by Dickerson and not Noah. That's the problem.
NIST has agreed to do this study. So NIST has to sign the document as well. But
And
I think UMD is the one, facilitating the signing of the document. So that's why my contact is with Professor Dickerson.
okay. Okay, so the holdup could be the federal agency, but Professor Dickerson is the one who's managing the signing of the document. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, all right, so I guess we need to check again with him. Seems like it's been like this for months and months and months. Seems like we've had the same conversation. Barbara?
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah, so he was not at the drive-through, so we couldn't ask him about it.
So Kevin, is that something that you can follow up on, is to double check and see exactly what the status of it is at this point? It's
Yeah, I will. I will make
okay.
a follow-up this
Okay.
week. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I
Alright.
just want to add, this is Marilyn. Hi.
Hi,
Kevin, hi. Kevin does periodically check up with Professor Dickerson via email because I am copied on those emails.
okay. Okay, but it'll be great at this point to get some definitive sort of idea of what exactly is the issue and some kind of potential I mean, it's been months and months and months of this, so it would be
I
really
think
great.
it's over a year. It's well over a year.
Could be.
I gave him.
Okay, so Kevin, I appreciate that. If you could just check with him and say, what is the ETA for this? Is there some problem or what's the holdup?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next, so the third waste sort at the organics facility was conducted last June 11. Some SWAC members were there to join the event. And I think the observation was the load from University Park was clean with almost no plastic materials. So that's good news. And MES is in the process of preparing the report.
Kevin, they found we had three of the green totes full of food scraps. One tote contained basically refuse, stuff that shouldn't have been there at all. And this was out of one truckload that we participated in. They had done a previous truckload before we got there, but there was one truckload that we did from University Park, and it was basically very clean insofar as we only had one tote of contaminants and three containers full of food scraps. So they were, let's say, very participatory in as a area. Now we didn't know, Steve was going to check to see how many other trucks, if any, come from University Park, but Dave wanted to particularly see University Park since they have been providing biodegradable bags to be used for the kitchen countertop tote, and they were going to be discontinuing that for budgetary reasons. And we want to then do another run of University Park come fall to see what the difference is in participation rate and contamination rates, given that they won't be provided with any biodegradable bags any longer by the municipality. So, but we're very pleased with the lack of contamination and the high participation rate that was exhibited by that truckload that we did go through. We started about 10:30 and we're finished up by 12:30 or 12 o'clock.
Wow.
I'd
So
like to
you
add
were,
one-
you were finished at exactly the time I arrived.
Yeah. It was Dave,
time.
myself. There was an intern working for the environmental sciences in their marketing department who participated, as well as one of their regular staff was there. So it was, and then Steve came and went as he could with his other obligations to help out too. But we finished up pretty quick. A lot of it had to do with the fact that there was very little contamination and that. So it went well and quickly.
Yeah, since I didn't make it down in time for that, how you describe it with 3 totes of food scraps and 1 tote of contaminants. It
Right.
sounds like the contaminants are 25%. I mean, are a third as much as the food scraps, which sounds
Well,
like a whole lot. Was that tote full?
No,
with
no, well, compared to what we found the last time, it was a whole lot less than we found when we did the, now we did more truckloads. We did 2 truckloads last time as opposed to 1. But, we don't have any of the final numbers. MES is going to be compiling the numbers, and what percentage that represents for the total load, we don't have that number either. We don't know what the load of the truck was. They measured it when it came in, but that'll be part of their report that they'll prepare for that waste sort that will include, that detailed data that we don't have. This was just observationally that we had noted the lack of contamination. I think personally, I only found like 3 water bottles, which compared to what I had done the last time is a whole lot less.
What about plastic bags?
I don't think I found, I think I found 1 like topsoil bag, but other than that, I don't think I found, and there was 1 mom's reusable bag that had a broken handle that I found in there. But that's me personally. Now, I don't know what Dave or the other 2 people had found for themselves, but that's what contributed from my collection into that bag of contaminants. So there was, again, compared to what I found the last time, a lot less.
Yeah, I'd like to add a couple points here. I talked with Mickey Beal, who's our Public Works Director, yesterday to ask if I thought there was actually more that had come in from University Park. And he said during this season and up until I think the fall, they have 2 trucks coming, and then during the winter time, it's just 1. So we only saw 1 of the 2 trucks that came in and did the sort for that 1 truck. I was actually looking for some stuff that I know I had thrown out and didn't find it. So I kind of figured it must have been in the other truck. But the other thing that Barbara, you mentioned about the fact that there's 25%, I think in terms of weight, I think it's far less because the bags and the compost, the food waste is really a lot heavier than some of the paper and other things that was in that contaminated tote. So I think when we get the numbers, I think we'll see that even though the food waste is still a very small portion of the entire sort, most of it's still yard waste.
I mean,
Yeah.
paper should be fine to leave in the compost thing. It's really just plastic.
Well, I'm talking about some other things that may have been that were probably contaminants. We were throwing a few things in there, and maybe Bill can talk a little bit more about that, but I don't think it'll become nearly as heavy 1 tote of the contaminant as the 3 of the.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
We were
I
not-
fully agree that by weight, the plastic is lighter than food. I'm just even surprised if it was a full tote of plastic and 3 full totes of food. I'm surprised that by volume.
It wasn't just
1 to
plastic.
3.
Again, it was plastic. It was the bottles and, pieces of nylon rope and, stuff like that. None of the paper bags that the yard waste was put to the curb in was included in that. That's considered yard waste. And
It's compostable.
yes, and it's considered that. They will weigh that when they, scooped up all the yard waste. That'll be weighed, and then they'll do it as a percentage of the total truck
Yeah.
weight when it came across the scale.
Sure.
Okay.
So the
Okay,
fact that
Kevin,
it took
thanks.
a volume doesn't equate to the weight of it all, because it was, some of that stuff was, again, a topsoil bag volume wise is, takes up a little bit more space but it doesn't weigh anything, so it still contributed to that full tote, but weight wise, it's, minuscule.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Kevin, let's keep going.
Okay. Residential curbside collection program, as mentioned by Marlon last meeting, starting July 1st, residents will have the opportunity to put out bulky materials up to 4 from the original 2. And also, the county will be introducing scrap metal and electronics collection beginning July 15. And this is on an appointment basis every third Monday of each month. So this program would be a good opportunity for the residents to bring out their materials for collection by the county.
Kevin,
Bill?
with regard for that, is it that the electronics and scrap metal can be put out at the same time in the same containers or something like that? Or how is that going to work? Again, I understand there's an appointment required, but can you put both items out, or is it you make one appointment for metal and you make another appointment for the electronics, or one appointment will take whichever of those two items that you have
Hi.
out?
Yeah, hi, Bill.
Hi.
Marilyn again. Hi. So residents will have to make an appointment for each type, whether it's electronics or scrap metal. Depending on the appointments for that month. They may get an appointment for the same day collection, but they may not, because let's say if the electronics appointments fill up and book for the month, they may get a scrap metal appointment, but they may have a different date, a different week for the electronics. So just, they're two separate scheduling.
So they're picked up by a different truck.
They could be picked up by different trucks, or it could be what we call like a split body truck, where the same truck has, like half
Two
the
compartments.
body pick, a compartment will have the scrap metal and the compartment will have electronics.
So you don't know
Scheduling-
yet what kind of trucks you're going to have. If it's going to be the
They're,
split.
they're most likely to be split body trucks.
I have a question about the implementation of this program. I don't know if anybody else is impacted, but I learned secondhand that my pickup date for my yard waste and my trash, the date has been changed from Wednesday to Tuesday, and nobody in the neighborhood received any of that notice. So I don't know how much outreach or how you've notified the public, but if you're changing pickup days because you've now added additional items you're picking up, the residents need to know that. And I wasn't told, and I know my neighbors weren't told, because I called them today to say, were you aware? I learned it through a civic association person, and then I went online to check my date, and sure enough, my date was changed from Wednesday to Tuesday for my pickup. So I had to be proactive
Right.
to find out.
So what's happened so far? So yard trim day remains Monday. There's no change in that. But there are about 1/2 of the households that are in the curbside collection program or pickup service that will have a day change based on these new contracts, new contractors. In some cases, they're going to have a new hauling company as well. The county has already released a press release which provided the collections lookup tool link. And that has been very, the hits on it have been in the tens of thousands hits. So we know the press release was very well executed, because we can see how many hits, how many people have been, clicking on that lookup tool to see if their day changed or not. But next week, I do know, or it might even be later this week, but certainly by next week, there will be newspaper ads. They are doing a postcard direct mailer to all the residents in the service collection program. They'll get a direct piece of mail, letter in the mail to their address. And the people who are affected by the day change next week will be receiving a door hanger with the information about the day change. So all that's happening next week.
So I should receive a door hanger next week.
You should, yes.
Okay, and if I do not,
If you don't have a door hanger by not this Friday, next Friday, please send me an email. I would be very interested in knowing that. Yes.
Right, and I will be very much interested in telling you.
Okay,
But like I
deal.
said, it came as a complete shock when I discovered it.
So Maryland, it takes effect on July 1st, basically the same as the change in pickup days.
It does.
Okay. And was it a result of that, of changing, adding these extra pickups necessitated moving things around?
Now, it's a result of the county put out a bid for the collection services. So, excuse me, the additional services of increasing bulky limit from 2 to 4, and then the special on-premise curbside collection of the electronics and scrap metal that was added to the scope of work. So the result of some of the day changes are, because it's just dependent on who, which haulers bid on the contract and who got awarded which areas of the county, they went with low bid. So some of the areas now, and all the T&Gs, I should add, the current, what we call T&G, which is some of those have changed to a broader, what we now call service area. So there was kind of a consolidation for mapping purposes, to make the routes more contiguous, if you will, to help bring down the cost. So some areas will also have a new contractor, but it's a result of these new bids, and of the haulers, working out their schedules on how they can perform the collections and their routes and which day they're going to be able to collect which service area. So hence about almost 50% of the current collection days will be changed to a new collection day.
Any
Maryland,
chance that West Laurel gets its pickup company changed? We'd so love to get rid of Bates.
There is, I believe, an area, there is a new company, I believe, that has part of that northern county area, but I can't say for certain. I know our director is providing some maps to, I believe your council member might be Councilmember Mr. Dernoga.
Yep.
Yeah, so it may be Bates, because I know Bates still retains some of those. He did retain some of those areas in the north part of the county, but there are some areas that he did not retain. And we actually have a new contractor.
Maryland, who's doing the door hangers? Is that a
certain there.
contractor? Or is that the pickup service people? Who's going to actually be putting the door hangers out?
The contractors.
So that's the pickup people, the same people.
Yeah, our current contractors, regardless of if they were awarded the new area or not, they're the ones that are putting the door hangers to the affected areas.
Do you know how they're going to do that? Is it going to be the same time they're doing the pickups, or are they going to have special people out doing it as a subcontract?
It's most likely going to be while they're out on route, but I'll
So
confirm
conceivably,
that.
I could have a door hanger at 6 o'clock in the morning when they usually do my pickup.
You could, yes.
Okay.
Like that's,
All right.
yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Marilyn, let me ask, since you're now doing this new contract, we have been forever hoping that asking that, because you guys had said that the pickup guys can't put hangers or flags or tape or whatever signs onto the toters with unacceptable materials to explain to the residents that, for instance, you can't put your recycling in a plastic bag. Does the new contract hopefully require them to tag the toters, tell the residents when their toters have unacceptable materials like that?
Yeah, they are supposed to use the tags or the stickers, particularly if there's plastic bags found in the recycling cart or the compost cart.
Yay.
Mhm.
So Marilyn, let me ask you, was this a pretty much kind of across the board recontracting? Everybody's all these contracts were renewed, right, at this point?
No contracts, the existing contracts, no contract was renewed. The current contracts all expire the end of June.
Okay,
So these the new bid went out,
okay,
was awarded, and so the new contract with the haulers, new haulers for service areas, that all starts on July 1. It's a brand new contract.
Marilyn, how long is that contract for? Or is it a period of time, a year, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, I believe it's I'll have to get back to make sure I tell you correctly, so I'll make a note here. I believe it's a 5-year with 3 1-year extension options.
free
Marilyn?
1-year extensions?
So it could be up to 8 years.
Correct.
Okay.
Marilyn, this is a question. This is Dave Brosh. How many contractors will be doing this work, and how many routes are there out there in the county? You know?
I believe, gosh, I wish I had it right in front of me.
And you guys did not.
I think I think there's 2 or 3 haulers that we currently have that no longer will be servicing the county, but we picked up one new hauling company that has never performed work in the county. So I believe we had 11 haulers. I think that brings us down to 9 haulers now, if I just did my math right. But I'm gonna write a note, because I just told you 9 to make sure I told you right. I think there's 9. And yes, we went from 101 T and Gs down to something like 27, and I'll get that number back to you too.
Wow.
That's correct. 27 service areas. I can tell you, there's some haulers, some of the larger haulers that do not have like their workload, their number of houses were reduced by 1/3. So we expect that will also improve service because they don't have as many homes now to collect from.
What kind of, I presume this was partly an efficiency issue and a cost evaluation issue. Was there some significant savings based on this, looked like, various consolidations of the routes and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, there are some savings that are being experienced, but it's rolled into under the current contract. Under the current contracts, the haulers pay a tipping fee at the landfill and at the compost facility. Under the new contract, it's tip fee neutral. They pay no tip fee.
I just don't think they.
So that brought the collection costs down, but we will no longer have that quote tip fee revenue coming in.
So does that sort of equal out?
It equals out as far as what we expected within that industry to charge per unit because of the inflationary and with the current CIP, because inflation's really hit the industry very hard with respect to fuel, equipment, and even manpower or woman power, staff power. Even the livable wage, the county's livable wage, all that goes into the equation, the cost of their equipment, because there's a requirement now that unlike we were unable to get this in the 2016 renegotiation of the trash contracts, but we did get it in this time. They are required to have new or trucks with no more than X number of hours on the truck. So either new or relatively brand new trucks. So they have to buy new equipment. So some of this old junk that we see on the road will no longer be traversing our roads.
Barbara, can you
but-
turn
but
off
they
your mic?
did-
Sorry, Marilyn, hold on a second.
Hang on a sec.
It's all this background noise is coming
Oh,
through.
sorry. My husband's getting an infusion. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. No. Keep talking, people. Sorry. No, it was my fault for having the mic on.
Marilyn, apologies. Sorry. Go ahead, please.
Oh, yeah, so, I mean, there's provisions in there, like I was saying about the equipment has to be new or like new equipment. So, there's a factor in there. Of course, it's costing more money because they have to go out and buy new trucks and equipment costs more money. So at the end of the day, yes, the county feels very comfortable and pleased with the quotes. And like I said, the county did go based on not only performance, but low bid. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Would it be possible to get a copy of what was the RFP or whatever was put out for the bids?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Okay.
Kevin, can you put that on the list? Cause and email Barbara Manley.
Um,
Yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't be able to be. It might even be on the OCS's webpage.
Mhm.
But yeah, Kevin, if you can make note of that. Mhm.
Marilyn,
Okay.
I noticed in looking this up, my trash day is changing, but there's no indication of who the new hauler is going to be. How do we find out who our hauler is going to be? Just waking up that morning to see what truck goes by, or is there some indication? Because looking at your site, there's an indication that it's changing, but it doesn't say it's changing from who to who.
Yeah, it doesn't say which hauler. You'll find out when the truck rolls down the street.
Okay.
Marilyn, one more question. We're talking about the unincorporated areas. What about the municipalities who are bringing both food waste and yard trimmings to the OCF, as well as just regular trash to the county landfill?
So for yard trim, food scraps, trash that the municipalities haul or hire their own contractors, this has no impact on them whatsoever. We do provide recycling collection services in 6 municipalities through an executed agreement with those municipalities. And so their collection day is going to change, and we actually have a meeting with the mayors and the officials and the county executives, municipal liaison on Thursday, so that proper notification can be given to those residents.
So Marilyn,
Yes.
Marilyn, I've now spent, since you said it was online, I've spent this whole time trying to online find where it says who it's changing. And I'm not a whiz at online. I got it. I cannot see on the county's website, including when I put it in as a question, pickup days. How do you find out which day you're going to be picked up?
Yeah, can we send that to you by email or on a link?
Great.
Can you put it in the chat?
Kevin, can you do that?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you.
And then another sort of related question. When you're talking about the companies getting new trucks, we had a terrible incident in West Laurel about a month ago or 3 weeks ago, where in front of every house where there was a pickup, there was this pile of crushed glass. And the entrance to our gravel road is where they do their 3-point turn. There was an enormous pile of crushed glass trash. Supposedly because the truck had a hole in the bottom. And so all the crushed glass, once it crushes, it just falls out. And I have reported this, Kevin once helped me a bit on it, but I've reported this, and with Kevin's help, to 311, I think 5 times. Each time it's been closed out, they have collected, or the residents have collected the glass on the paved areas. On my gravel road, I got half of a 5-gallon bucket of glass, and there's still a lot there. Is this my responsibility to clean up? I mean, I'm
No.
not only for car tires, I got the bigger pieces, so the car tires should be okay. But a lot of people walk their dogs there, and it can really do tremendous damage to their paws.
Yeah, no, that's not the residents' responsibility at all. That those kind of things, which we call a spillage, are to be reported directly.
As I say, I've reported it, I think 5 times, and each time they close the case and they send me a little notice of how,
Okay.
with instructions of how to put out my trash. It's very insulting.
Okay, Barbara, I'm gonna personally look into that on Thursday, because tomorrow's a holiday, and find out what happened there. What
Oh,
happens
great.
is, yeah, as soon as we find out when there's a spillage, that is like extremely important.
They take no
the
interest.
hauler-
It's not important to 311.
The hauler, we direct them to immediately get that truck off route. They are then to exercise what's in the contract with using one of their spare trucks. They are to clean the spillage that day. Within a couple of hours, they're supposed to be out there cleaning it up.
Oh, because we
And
were,
then-
because when you report it, you are told it's within 3 days.
Yeah, no, that's not right. So that's why I'm gonna check into this. And then that truck that had the spillage is not allowed back on route on the county roads until they have had it fixed and re-inspected by the health department. And that's the policy. So I don't know if you have an email or something that you can send me that will help me, but I will look.
Sure.
I would definitely look into that, because that's the procedure. And it sounds like if you had to report something 5 times and the residents are out there picking it up themselves, and especially if the truck is still on the route, something in the system broke down.
Okay, I have no
very
idea if the
badly.
truck is, I have no idea if the truck is still in the route. We
Yeah,
did
no, we
not-
removed the trucks immediately. That is
Yeah.
completely unacceptable.
Great. That's wonderful to know. I can send you some photographs.
Okay, thank you.
Also, Marilyn, when Barbara relayed her concern to me, I immediately informed Tim and Vaughn.
Okay.
So I have an email that I can forward to you.
Yes, would you, Kevin,
well.
please? Mhm.
Okay, okay.
So part of the problem, I mean, it's part of the problem is not you guys, but 311. Because the one time they would not let me report the address where the problem was. I had to report the nearest intersecting road, which is half a mile away. Well, that's irrelevant. And so then they said, oh, it's cleared up there. Well, yeah, 3 days later when I called, they say it's cleared up there. Well, I have no idea what was a half a mile away. I'm concerned about where it's spilled on our driveway.
Yeah, that doesn't, to me, I'll have to check into that too. That makes no sense. It should allow for, in fact, I'm not familiar with that at all, what you just said, because I know it to require like a specific address, not an intersection. So, I'll check into that too, Barbara.
Well, maybe it got confusing because I gave them my address, but I said that they can't pick up at our house, so we have to drive it up the road to the neighbor's house. So I gave the neighbor's address. So maybe that got them very confused.
Hmm.
I mean, I gave them the address. I told them where the glass was in great detail. They were very uninterested to take down the information. One time I got somebody, 3 times I got that they promised they would have the hauler call me when they came out, that I could show where the glass was, that it could get, because I assumed that they have big brushes or vacuums or something to get it up with. And of course, nobody ever called. So it's just really annoying that one pays all these
Yeah,
taxes. And you
I
just get,
understand.
I can say in general, in using 311, because I've tried to report dumpings on a number of occasions for which there is no address. And you try and relay to these people where this stuff is, and it's, they're saying, I have to have an address. Well, there is no address. This is where it is. Have somebody come to my house and I'll walk them there, type of thing. But it's really annoying to try and deal with them, because they have a set way they do things. And if it doesn't fall within their set way of doing things, basically it doesn't exist for them. And it's impossible to try and get proper service when that's the case. At least that's been my experience on more than one occasion.
Okay, same thing we're saying.
Yeah.
Great. It would be great if that can be resolved. And if we can have some way that if things like that happen again, because I felt I was getting special treatment since Kevin got on my case to help. You would think if anything, we should have gotten better treatment than a normal resident. And there's
Mhm.
still a ton of glass out there.
Yeah, that's unacceptable. And I'm gonna find out if the truck's been pulled off too. And fixed and inspected.
I suspect the truck, at least the truck did not come back here because we had these piles in front of everybody's house one day. And the following week, there weren't such piles. So it was clearly a different truck.
Okay, good.
Or they put a piece of cardboard over the hole.
Right. Or the first time they were sabotaging it. I mean, I have no idea what it was. But it's just, and that they can't see that when it's every single house where they stop at had a big pile of glass in front of it. You would think when they drive up the road the second time they'd see it.
Now, for Bill, when a truck has a spillage and we require it to be off route, fixed or repaired, they must get a health department inspection and provide us with the health department inspection before they can put that truck back in service.
Right.
So that's our checkpoint. The health department inspection is involved.
Okay. But it's the cleaning up with this all over the road.
And we require it to
great.
be cleaned up the day of. Mhm.
Okay, that's great to know. And if you could let 311 know that, because when I reported the spillage, it's within 3 days, and you're not allowed to call them back within 3 days.
Yeah,
they-
I'm gonna
do
look
it.
into that.
Okay,
Okay, great.
any more on this
Thank you.
hot topic of changing vendors and pickups? Okay, all right, thank you, everybody. Okay, Kevin?
Okay, 10-year plan. Last Monday, we were informed by MDE that they have completed the review of the plan, and so we are just waiting for the approval letter from MDE. Area C infill project construction is ongoing with a target completion date of around November to December 2025. So that's the time when waste placement will start.
So
Addition-
Kevin, can I stop you for a second and ask a question? So one of the questions that's come up is, the folks have asked about the type of cover that will be used on the area C. Is that going to be something different than what's currently have been used in areas A and B, or is there going to be something different? And what determines that? How is that? Is that something, is it regulated? Is it an operations plan? How does that work?
It's the same type of cover. The first few layers of new trash that gets placed into the new cell is what we call soft waste placement. So that nothing, as the compactor goes over top of it to compact the trash, nothing will puncture the liner. But as far as cover soils, it's the same cover soils that we use now.
And
I thought Kevin had sent you some information on that. So the cover soil that is delivered and that we use does have to be tested. And it is tested and certified for use as daily cover.
And so that's how thick is that cover?
I'm sorry?
The thickness? How thick is it? How high is it? The depth of it?
Yeah, Kevin, did you provide all that? The write-up
Yeah,
on that?
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
then my apologies. I don't remember seeing it, but I'll go back and look.
Yeah, we provided the landfill cover regulations, Nancy.
Okay, I don't remember seeing it, but I'll go look.
But
Okay,
I will resend.
okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
because there's different layers. You know, we build the lifts, you have to put a layer of cover on it. And then there's a certain layer of cover that has to go on at the end of the day that's peeled back the next morning.
Mm,
So, and then there's a certain amount of cover for like the side slopes, and all that was in that document.
Okay, great.
Okay, that'll be great to see. I missed that also.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Maryland, at one point that cover used to come from directly across the street. Is some of that now being brought in from someplace else?
Yeah, so, we call that's our stockpile. And street. And then what we do is we use what we call our off-road trucks. They're very large pieces of equipment that get filled with a front end loader of the cover soil. And then that gets directly taken across the street to the landfill.
So it's not mined there, it's stored there.
It's stored there. It's not
Okay,
mine.
so
being
it is
mined.
brought in from outside the county from someplace,
Well, some of it could be in county, some of it could be out of county.
but not at site.
No, not on site. It's not, yeah, it's all coming in and it's all being tested. It has to meet the testing requirements. We don't do the testing. Another separate entity does the testing of the soils.
And it's certain kind of soils, correct?
Correct. It has to meet the requirements, the MDE requirements, to be able to use it as
Mhm.
cover soil. For instance, it can't be like a loamy sandy soil. We would never be able to accept a loamy sandy soil. We're more interested in, you know, more like if you think about it, like a clay-based
Right,
soil.
yeah.
Yeah.
Marilyn, we have been told that the small stuff that from the recycling facility that they can't recycle, the little tiny caps and little tiny shards, and I think mainly the glass shards, that those are used as the cover also. Is that correct?
No, that's very incorrect. So what we call the overs from the MRF, some of the overs are strictly trash overs. And that would be like, you know, small caps that pop off of things, anything that ends up small stuff falling onto the MRF floor, or, you know, it could be cords that get in there, or, you know, just some of the unacceptable material that people put in the recycling carts that gets landfilled as trash. The glass that comes out, what we use that for at the landfill is considered by MDE as a beneficial use. We do mix that in with the aggregate that we have to purchase. And we do use that for making our access roads up to the top of the landfill fill face. And that road periodically changes because it depends on which area of the active cell we have waste placement going in. So that's used as a road base mixed in with the aggregate that we purchase.
What gets mixed in?
The glass.
Glass, okay.
Yeah, glass is mixed in that gets delivered from the MRF. It gets mixed in with aggregate that we have to purchase. So that gets blended and mixed, and we use that as a road base for access so that the trucks can get in and out of the landfill without getting stuck.
Is that all of the glass from the MRF or only some of the glass?
All of the glass.
So we don't have a buyer for
No,
the glass, okay.
no.
Wow.
Marilyn,
No.
I have a question. Area C is going to be between areas A and B. When you start filling area A, filling it up, and I guess between these other two areas that are now closed, is there any impact on the other two areas as you're putting in new, you know, the just the waste product that's coming in that's, you know, being landfilled?
Yeah, I think if you recall the presentation that Eric provided, so what we have to tie in to for instance, the existing area B especially. So as we tie in to the existing, I'm just gonna call it a mound, looks maybe more like a little mountain, but as we tie into the existing mound of trash in area B, there is a cut into that to tie it in as, you know, if you think about it, the new cell starts at ground level. And then it goes up to until we finally reach the elevation. Well, there is, as we're going up on that side slope where it touches or meets area B and also on area A side, it gets tied in as we're moving up. So eventually it's going to be one big mound.
When you're
And
saying
that's
tied,
that's
when
it.
you're saying tied in,
Is it-
how exactly does that happen? Or what is the, I mean, you've got,
yeah, we've
you've got the trash, and then you've got the cover and layers. So how is that, it sounds to me like it's a pretty complicated thing to try
Yeah,
to
well,
tie the two together.
well, yeah, right. Well, area B is not capped, it's not covered. And it is engineered of exactly, you know, how it gets tied in, and we'll have to, if you want the technical version of that, we'll have to try to get another presentation for that technical, how it ties in exactly and how the engineer explain it.
But doesn't the A and B have all sorts of methane exhaust pipes that you probably don't want to cut when you're doing these tie-ins?
Yeah, and they and on all the engineering plans, we know exactly where the gas collection system is, and there's a new gas collection system being laid where area C goes, and then it all ties in, and there's work and some in the wells and the new wells that are going in as well. So that's a big network, and they know exactly where everything is.
So Marilyn, is there a separate gas collection system for area A, area B, and area C? Each one is separate?
They're separate as far as there's different areas, but they do tie into certain wells. I hope I'm explaining that correctly. And eventually they all go into the same
Right.
pipe that goes to our either our engine room or to the main flares. So eventually it all converges together.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Appreciate that. Okay, Kevin, sorry.
Okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
okay. Yeah, so Brown Station emission study, I will follow up with Professor Dickerson this week. LFG RFI, the RFI are still being vetted with the Office of Law. We have to wait until they decide on the matter.
So your ETA for getting an RFP out was early June. So we're at a little past mid-June. Do you have an ETA now, a revised ETA for that?
Oh, go ahead, Marlon.
Yeah, we do the RFP will start to get vetted through the powers that be in the county starting Thursday of this week. I can't say how long that's going to take, but I'm thinking that's going to be at least 2 full weeks if everybody can set this time, you know, dedicate the time to get it reviewed. And then there's going to be some coordination meetings between MES, who's releasing it on behalf of Prince George's County, and the Prince George's County's procurement office. So I'm guessing it's going to be about, best case scenario, 4 weeks before it's actually let.
Okay, so
But I
we're
will
probably
say that-
looking at another,
Yeah,
month or so.
hopefully within the next 4 weeks. I know the county wants to get this out. It is a priority. And,
You say till the contracts are
So-
let, but this is just till the RFP is published.
the RFP to
Correct.
get it published, and then there will be a period of time for respondents, to submit their response. And then there will be some different reviews of the responses, one being like a technical review, before a selection is made.
So when do we hope it actually will be, that a contract will be let?
Oh, you're talking 6 months. or more.
Hope I have a preliminary schedule. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I don't even know how to minimize this to get into my email.
Does the county council look at the, are they part of this vetting process before the RFP is released?
I can't answer that question. I don't know.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I
Kenneth
honestly
know?
don't know.
Kenneth, do you know?
No, the council doesn't vet RFPs. That's not how it
Okay,
works.
so they're not
We're
involved
not
in it at all. Okay,
Mhm.
all right, just curious.
Mhm.
Okay, so maybe we should just, Marilyn can get back to this or get back to us
Yeah.
subsequently. It's just
Yeah.
fine and appreciated. Thank you.
Yep, I'll write a
Okay.
note.
Okay, I'm gonna just put preliminary schedule.
Right, okay.
Okay. Okay, Kevin.
Okay, bicycle reuse program. Jefferson will reach out to you, Nancy, to discuss on the next steps.
Yeah, we've
Um,
been talking.
Okay. Repurposing of old carts in District 2. Our recycling section is in the process of identifying the households for this program, but we're targeting about 1,000 homes to be replaced with new recycling carts, and at the same time repurpose their old trash carts.
You said this is
and
just, sorry, go ahead.
District 2, yes.
Yeah, and Kevin, I do have an update. I think that's closer to 2,000 homes now.
Okay.
And which towns are these, or which it's unincorporated areas in Council
In
District
Council-
2?
Yes,
Okay. Okay,
And a target completion for this program is in the second or third quarter of this year.
okay,
That's all I have, Nancy.
okay. So you don't want to talk about the compost outreach? You skipped that,
Oh.
number 10.
I don't see number 10.
Hold on.
Number 10 on your list after bicycle reuse.
yeah, I think on that, Nancy, we were hoping we could see the results from the capstone project.
Yep. Yep.
Because, I believe that was gonna be used by the team here, including SWAC, to sort of help develop, some messaging and or potentially a survey that we could send out, on a broader level across the county to use some of that data, from that capstone project to help sort of guide, and, make some recommendations based on the findings from that project, but we haven't seen anything on that yet.
Okay, so with
So
that,
hopefully it'll be shared soon.
okay, so with that said, Kevin, do you we'll start on our committee reports.
Sure. Let me share the slides.
I
Was it-
missed what was said about, sorry, I'm trying to take the notes for Nancy, so I'm getting slow. What was said about item 4, the 10-year solid waste plan?
It went, the MES approved it last week,
Oh, okay, great.
and they're just
Thank you,
waiting
Mark.
for the final letter of approval.
Yeah, they have completed the reviews. Yep.
Can we get a copy of that letter when you guys receive it?
Yeah,
Yes.
the letter gets incorporated. There is, I think it's like
That's
page
right.
3.
Yep.
And that was purposely left blank because the MDE approval letter gets inserted into the plan on that page, and then that goes back out on the website.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay, great, yeah.
we will post the plan on the website, RD website.
Okay, so everybody, just a point to that the updated 10-year solid waste plan. We should all be looking at it again for the next 3 years. Here we go. Okay, so I will do a tiny introduction and also encourage Dave to participate and provide some information. So the project, we're working with the University of Maryland Capstone program. That program's run by Andy Fellows, who's former mayor of College Park, and now working in this community university role to bring the community and university together in productive ways. So over the course of the spring, we work with this group of students whose names you see up on this first slide, who helped us look at both behaviors of folks in the area we are surveying, and also looking at their ideas about composting and their experience with the county. So I think there was approximately, Dave, you can correct me, something like 20 questions or so. There was quite extensive sharing of the project, and it was in College Heights, which is an unincorporated area right near University Park, College Park, and Hyattsville. The demographics, however, make it a little bit outside of the bell curve of the county in terms of demographics. It was primarily a white, upper middle class, fairly wealthy neighborhood. So, and there was, I think, about 200 surveys distributed, and I think there were 43 returned, which gives a return rate of about 22%. And my understanding of that is that's actually a pretty good return. Of course, we'd like to take this to the next level. But anyway, so that's sort of the parameters. You can see here, this was the introduction to the project. The students helped us with data visualization. So that's part of what the project was for them, was this data visualization. So, okay, Kevin, go ahead to the next slide. So it says here the Department of the Environment implemented the program in the unincorporated areas. I don't think that's actually accurate. It's actually, the date on that is not correct. So, and one of the big challenges is getting everyone to participate in the program. That's not particular to Prince George's County. It's across the country. Getting folks to get on board with composting is, if you thought recycling was tough, composting is even more difficult. So we're really interested in finding effective ways to increase participation as quickly as possible, in large part because of getting the food waste out of the landfill means reduction in methane. And that's that is one of the drivers of the climate problem. Okay, so go ahead for the next one. Let's see. I think I've already covered that. Let's skip, go ahead. So Dave, I don't know if you want to, yeah, go ahead. So we can send for everybody the survey work products. If you're interested, you can look at the survey itself. So we'll do that. Keep going, Kevin. I don't think any of that's particularly, okay, go ahead and skip that, get right to the data. Okay, so Dave, you want to go over some of the data?
Yeah, I was actually looking at this last night and it was so small, I was actually having trouble reading it myself. I think Nancy and I both felt that some of the data or some of these visualizations that were presented maybe were not exactly what we would like and needed. And we think that we'd like to probably do it again. And maybe, again, I think you mentioned, Marilyn, you mentioned maybe there would be some kind of a follow-up or working with your folks and coming up with maybe a slightly better survey. We kind of ran out of time, and we had some issues with just trying to get the surveys out. And we actually had some people actually were just distributing, including myself, because we ran kind of out of time. The students were getting ready to graduate. So it wasn't probably a perfect environment to get this survey done. And we actually have a meeting set up with Andy Fellows again to talk about possibly doing it again with new students, either this term or maybe in the fall. And maybe we've learned some lessons, because I think some of the information we got was maybe not the most important information. And I guess you can look at some of the data that they did visualize, and also come up with some of the percentages. I don't know if Kevin, if you want to kind of start going through these kind of quickly. One thing that during kind of the middle of this, and we didn't have a chance to really talk to the students about, but I think it's actually important, at least in some areas, is the idea that a lot of the food waste might be going down the sink. It gets ground up and washed down the sink. So maybe some of the areas, maybe a lot of people with older homes have these waste disposal systems. And I think that's something I think we should be asking: are they using waste disposal versus putting out as compost, or just putting out as part of their trash? And I think both Nancy and I thought that we need to have maybe some better questions and kind of reevaluate what was done this first time. And like anything else, I think it's always a learning process.
I also gave some suggestions on this survey, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, I think in general, so what we saw, I think with the people that responded in College Heights, is that there was, the people that did respond, there was generally a comfort level, but there was still this, expressing concerns about things they didn't completely understand about either the program or the fact that it's just kind of a hassle. It's messy and dirty and not 100% clear what can go in it. So it's clear that there are people that are willing and interested in know stuff, and there's also folks, key ideas related to that is how to manage mess and helping people understand how to participate.
Yeah, I think that information on that previous slide, those reasons are pretty critical to be aware of.
Yep, exactly. And Marilyn, and I think we can try to dive into that more as we work with you all and with the university.
Okay.
No, that's exactly right. That's really the case.
Mm-hmm.
So Dave, I don't know if you want to talk about any of these. Clearly people use the service. That's clear. I don't think we got clarity about how much they're using it for food scraps versus yard waste. That was something that was not adequately addressed. Kevin, go ahead. So thanks for enlarging that. So this particular population knew a lot about the environmental piece of it, which may explain, the comfort level that did exist. And the people are willing to do stuff that may seem a little bit difficult if they really understand the reasons for it. So this is where the bell curve of this demographic was really further out than probably the demographic of the average or median demographic of the county. You can see that both in income and in race.
Yeah, and this was a kind of a first time thing we're doing with the students, and it actually was, I won't say convenient, but this is an area that's literally touching, almost touching the campus. And we thought that'd actually be easier for students to be involved, because they did hand out some of the surveys. They were trying where they could to actually ask the questions versus just leaving a piece of paper to be filled out and returned, or using a QR code to respond. But I think next time it would definitely be good to have other neighborhoods that are kind of closer to the demographics of the county, both, in terms of income and probably race and some other things that I think, like Nancy said, this is kind of an unusual neighborhood with fairly wealthy residents here.
So that's kind of interesting. So Marilyn, there's more data. We've got to go through the stuff they gave us.
Can you send that to us, Nancy?
I'm not sure if I have it or Dave has it.
Or can somebody send it to us?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can send the slides.
Kevin can send the slides and we can, so Dave, there is, I believe,
Thank you.
I had asked them to send us the questions with all the tabulated answers. And I don't know, did we get that from them?
I don't think so, but
Okay.
we can reach out. I think talk to Andy Fellows, but also the person there, the staff person that was kind of overseeing their project, who we didn't communicate with a lot. That would be one of the things I think we're going to try to do next time, is have a better someone at not just the students, but someone on staff that's kind of coordinating the effort.
Okay, so Marilyn, I had seen a survey and I'm sorry, but I can't remember what it was. It was something related to the Department of the Environment. I don't remember which office or what it was, but I did send it to Jefferson. And he said he'd seen it, and it was something that the county or DOE did. We were looking at it because we're thinking about doing some surveying for the bike reuse project. But I'm wondering, could we use, the county's resource to do maybe some kind of shorter version, but much, would involve a lot more people. I don't know what you think about that, but I mean, we can talk about it and the committee could work on it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I'm not 100% sure I know what you're talking about. So
Okay.
I'm a little bit
Yeah,
lost.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Being so vague. I have to find it. And
Okay.
but there was a survey that the county sent out about something. It was on SurveyMonkey. That I remember. And I forwarded it to Edward, so I can go back and find that and I can send. And so, but I'm wondering, so we should probably, and Barbara, so this is you and Nyla's committee. And wondering if you guys can help with this. Nyla, Barbara? Everybody's still here?
I don't think Niall is on the call tonight.
No, she came at about just a little while ago,
Oh,
about a half hour ago.
Okay.
Barbara?
I'm here. Yeah.
Hi, so Marilyn would like the committee to work on assisting with some of the surveying and outreach stuff related to the compost program.
Okay. In person?
I don't think so necessarily, but,
Yeah, I could do in person when I get back in August. If not, I'll have to be like online and stuff.
okay.
Yeah.
Virtual's fine. Mm-hmm.
Barbara, did we lose her? Okay, all right, I'm just gonna make a note to follow
I
up
was
with
muted.
that.
I tried to say sure, but I was muted. Sorry.
Okay, okay, so if you all maybe can be in touch with Marilyn about thinking about the next steps, we'll try to get the data to you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay, all right, any further questions, thoughts on that?
No, the presentation was, looked like it was very well, constructed. Yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah, part of their goal was to do that data visualization. So they had a program, a special program that they employed to create that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's more data than is in that slide deck. So,
Mhm.
we'll try to pull that together and get that to everybody. And then hopefully
Okay, thank you.
between you guys and, our committee, we can begin to formulate a plan.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. And then Dave and I are gonna continue to, pursue, you guys should let us know what you're thinking about, then we can see how to bring the university in, if it makes sense to also do a more concentrated survey in particular neighborhoods or something, so just keep us in the loop.
And then you're gonna send, Kevin and I that monkey survey, so
Yes,
I'm not
yes,
sure,
I'll send the monkey
what-
survey.
because what I'll have to do is, we'll have to find out, it does our agency still, I mean, is it still,
Right,
can we still do a survey, I'll have to
it
find out
just,
what.
it
but
just
if we
went
do-
out, I
if we
mean, I
do,
just
that's a
sent
great
it to
idea.
him the end of last week, so
Okay,
it was current, so,
okay,
yeah, I'll
Oh,
send the
very
monkey
good.
survey and,
very good, okay, perfect, thank
Okay.
you.
yeah, thank you, okay, Dave, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. A couple of the things that I was going to cover on as part of the committee has already been covered, so I'm going to go up to number 4 in my list here. So Barbara and I met with Tim Miller in Laurel. He's the assistant, I think, public works director. And then after that, I had a phone conversation with Michelle Blair, who's their, I believe, sustainability coordinator for Laurel. And what we talked about was their plan to actually start a mandatory composting program for all 6,000 residents in Laurel, including residents that are in apartment complexes. And they're going to have something called a big belly, which is a way to bring your compost down and put it in a central location as part of that complex, and then it gets picked up. So by the end of 2025, all 6,000 residences will be required, mandatory requirement to compost. And from what Michelle Blair said, this is, except for California, which is it's a requirement across the state now, this will be the first program in the country where a municipality is actually starting to do a mandatory program. And I think it would be very interesting for us to kind of look at what they're doing and start thinking about maybe this is a way maybe we should be thinking about going. Certainly, I'd like to see my town, University Park, which has been composting for a long time, but only is up around 40%, I think. Think about taking that next step to make it mandatory. And maybe there are other places, other municipalities, and maybe eventually the larger county. But anyway, this is the first step, and I think it's really interesting to kind of follow what they're doing. I think I've talked to both those folks now, Mr. Miller and Mrs. Blair, and they seem to have really thought this thing through. They've looked at studies and also programs in other states, and I think we need to follow what they're doing. So I just want to mention that. When we were
And I'd just like to break in and say that, remember, Dave, I then looked online when we were talking and I found a whole bunch of other cities that required it online. So I think either Michelle misspoke or we misheard when
Are
she.
these cities or municipalities in California?
No,
Oh,
like Portland, for instance, is in Oregon.
okay, all right.
Barbara, this is Marilyn. Can you share that information with me? Because one of our recycling planners has been tasked with researching not just locally, but across the country, the jurisdictions, if there are any that have a mandatory, like food scrap diversion program where it must be placed in a appropriate collection cart to go to a composting facility to a certain what percentages of participation if they have a mandatory program, or I'm interested in other jurisdictions they have it but it's not mandated, and looking at those stats of participation rates among these jurisdictions that have food scrap collection like we do now. And other than California, he didn't find that many jurisdictions outside of California, which was all, I think, mandated. So if you have other cities and towns or jurisdictions, I would love to see that so I can point him into that right direction.
Sure, I just pulled up a bunch of cities that I remember are forward-looking, and I remember that Portland was one that had it as a requirement. Austin did not. So, but I didn't write it down, but I can go and search again and try to find it. But I didn't find a place. I tried to look if there was a place that lists where it's mandatory and where it's offered on a voluntary basis, and I didn't see such a cumulative list anywhere.
Marilyn, a
What-
good place is the BioCycle website. They have a study. Have you looked at that?
I know, I gave him that information. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm aware of doing a study on it, and I gave him, I even gave him Nora's contact information because I know we just participated in answering questions for Nora on our program. But the questions I like to have answered through this research are of the jurisdictions that do have a curbside collection program like Prince George's County is like, what is the average? What should we expect? Should be a good average of participation, or the ratio of tonnage if they collect yard trim with food scraps, what's that ratio look like? Because I know I've thrown out numbers of what I think a good level would be, which now I'm starting to think that I was probably unrealistic in those numbers. Like I'm thinking too high, but I don't know because I have no data on that. So that's the kind of data I'm trying to obtain and have answered. What is the average participation rate? What is the average, like I said, that ratio between food waste and yard trim if it's collected together? So at least we know what's the average target we're trying to hit here. And then to Dave, I'm actually very pleased to hear the news you just reported with the city of Laurel. We, in our division, at the division level, we do feel that it should be mandated in Prince George's County because there has been a significant investment made not only in the infrastructure, which was about $11 million, but also in distributing compost carts to all the residents, which was another, I don't know, $10 million. But the numbers I'm seeing coming in seems pretty low as far as the food goes across the county. But we are entering our 1 year of, getting out additional education and outreach. We've been asked to do that, to assess it over the next year to see if education and outreach helps boost that number. And we're directed by leadership to do that, give it 1 year before we can proceed with proposing legislation to make it mandatory.
Well, Marilyn, I think maybe doing some surveying, additional beyond College Heights Estates, maybe that would help us give us some answers. So,
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
wasn't there something that the outreach committee was going to help, be able to help DOE with the messaging?
Yep.
And then at first the county council had said we should, and then you guys said we should wait until the College Heights survey was done. So it seems like all of that is moving forward. So I think I would love to see the SWAC be able to have some participation in the messaging, because at least in West Laurel, which is again an atypical, whiter, probably higher median income than the average county. But so many of the caring residents have no feeling of why they should want to compost, because the messaging, when everything was handed out, never mentioned anything about greenhouse gases or methane or anything. More recently, they've occasionally mentioned it in some of the flyers. But the people just don't know the importance of it. They say, why should I bother?
So Barbara, that's great. I really encourage you and Nyla to work with Marilyn and the team. We can help move this along. I think we're going to continuously look for studies and material to see what's other people have used that's been effective. We're going to continue to do our own surveys. And part of that, of course, in the end result is to really work on the messaging piece. So I appreciate that. Okay.
I agree. And I think that's where on that slide that's had those reasons pointed out are so, I think, critical.
Yep.
To get that.
Okay, so I'm sorry, y'all.
because that
We
could
are
help us
at
help
sort
you.
of 3 minutes to the witching hour. So, Dave, do you want to just see what else you have? The other committees, there's not, I don't think there's anything particular for Nyla and Barbara from the last meeting. But if there is, let me know.
No meeting.
Okay. So Dave, go ahead and finish.
yeah, I'll just be real quick with this. And this is another study which I think is at least worth looking at. 2008 USDA did a cover study using compost as part of the cover, and there were some results there. We have that study now. Maybe that is something we should be sharing with Department of the Environment. I think it's at least worth looking at. Maybe this might be something that might be at least to be considered as you start using or covering the Area C. I also want to mention, I talked to somebody at the Millersville landfill in Anne Arundel County, and we'd like to organize a tour to go there. Russ and the UMD folks said that when they've done flowers, there's very little methane coming from that landfill, and we'd like to see what they're doing in their landfill out there. And I thought it might be good to go out there, and I've talked to somebody there, and they said they would be happy to set up a tour if we wanted to come in the next month or 2 months.
Yeah, I think the difference there you might find at the Millersville landfill is because they operate Annapolis Junction. So a lot of the household waste ends up being transferred out. And I think what you might find out is a lot of the waste that's in place at Millersville is probably more like what we consider inorganic or, like dry waste, like bulk materials. But that'll be a tour with them to learn the findings. But that's my understanding.
Okay, that's helpful.
Marilyn, why is it mainly bulk materials? I missed that.
So they utilize Annapolis Junction. It's a transfer station. So a lot of their garbage, household garbage, goes out via Annapolis Junction transfer station. And a lot of the trash then that is delivered to the Millersville landfill, from my understanding, is it's a lot of what we call dry waste, but it's like inorganic material like bulk waste that, it doesn't.
You mean it's some
decompose-
commercial or something?
Yeah, it doesn't decompose the same as like food and,
But they sort it out from the different residences, or they take the residential to Annapolis Junction and this Millersville gets from some commercial place. I'm missing how you're saying that.
yeah, my understanding, but I could be wrong. So that's why I'm saying it's gonna be interesting when you go to the tour or meet with them to find out. But my understanding is a lot of the household garbage that's collected goes to Annapolis Junction. That's a transfer station and it's transferred out of the county.
So it's trucked
what-
out of the county?
I think Annapolis Junction is, I believe, by rail.
Or rail? So they're moving the trash just out of the county.
So yeah, what we would consider like the garbage, TNT
Yeah, right.
garbage.
Right.
And I think what they end up in the landfill, a majority of the waste in place at the landfill is like your bulk material, dry, what we call dry trash. It's not, it's not organic material. I think that's the primary difference at our landfill. We're taking all the municipal solid waste, including, things like food that we're trying to get the residents to divert into the food scrap program, because, we all know that the food is creating a lot of methane gas because it's organic.
But is the stuff at Millersville, is that they have sorted out in the residential wastes, the food versus the dry, or that they are just taking
No.
the commercial wastes?
No, I don't think it's like, it's not sorted. I think it's just that a lot of this is just what I think, yet to be determined, but I think it's because a lot of the trash that's collected on the routes, the residential routes, those trucks are going to the transfer station instead of to the landfill.
It'll be interesting to find out if we do this tour, then we can get all the real
And that,
information.
Dave, that would be an excellent question. Where does the household, the residential household trash, when the trucks pick it up, does it go to Annapolis Junction or is it being landfill? I'm almost positive it's going to Annapolis Junction.
I'm just gonna go get this.
Okay, so Dave, go ahead. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm trying to wrap this up because
Yeah.
we're at 7:33:05.
The only thing I want to mention is when we did that tour with the landfills and we were taking the methane measurements, we don't have that data yet, but we're supposed to be getting it fairly soon, and when we get it, we'll share it with you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, a couple other items. If anybody has not done their financial disclosures, please do that. I think I had gotten a note, there was one person who still needed to do that. So if you haven't done it, I urge you to go ahead and complete that form.
Yay! I'm the one person that had to do it. Now I owe $80.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, no.
Okay.
Okay.
Updates. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so I don't want you to have to spend money on that, but okay, I just also, we're hoping, I have emailed the commission office about Louisa, who I keep hoping from month to month that she's going to have been approved and sworn in. So I had sent a recent communication again to the office and I haven't heard back, but I'm hoping by next month we'll be there with that. I really am. So we would love to get you on. Louisa's, I met with Louisa and very excited about it, bringing her on board. And we talked about focusing on trying to figure out about multi-family unit recycling, what's happening with the municipalities versus the unincorporated areas in the county, and seeing if there's clarity about what the municipalities are supposed to be doing or not. So anyway, I think that's going to be part of a new project under the Greenhouse Gas Committee, which I think will be, in the end, it'll be very helpful to know what everybody's doing. So we're talking about maybe doing a survey and yet another survey to collect data. So I think that's it. I know that Kevin provided in our document information about the pop-ups. So anybody needs a pop-up, they're in there. I don't know if there's any other are there any other events over the summer? You guys should have an open house or something.
I
And
think the
s-
main event, sorry,
Oh, the summit, that's October.
yes.
Okay, well,
And last June 15, we had 535 participants, which was a good number for the collection events. Next event
great.
is on July 27. These are some
Okay.
pictures.
Nancy, one other thing, the county is being presented for the county council as amendments to the bag bill that are coming up.
Yes,
And so people should pay attention to that. They're trying to dilute some of the original provisions. Sierra Club finished their bag survey to find out that while the results are preliminary at this point, they found out that it's been very effective in customer responses to accepting that bags aren't needed in their purchasing process. So pay attention to what the county council's doing, because it should be in the next 2 weeks or so that amendment will come up for consideration, and people should be advising their council members that we don't need to bring any more
Change it.
bags back out on the streets.
Yeah, and we, I will share with you, since the implementation of this, the bag ban going into effect, which this is a phenomenal stat. We have received fewer than 20 complaints or concerns from constituents, whether they're in the county or out of county. And that is a phenomenal stat. Only fewer than 20.
yeah, that's amazing.
That is amazing.
That's
So
am-
we don't.
That's
see-
terrific.
We don't see any real issue with the constituents or the customers. Like I said, fewer than 20 complaints since the effective date is phenomenal.
That's great. I have a call into Martha for the Sierra Club to see if I can get a little bit more update, Bill, or if you know something, we could send something out to the commission members. I've been away for a couple weeks, so
Yeah,
I'm a
no,
little
I
bit
think
out of that loop.
Martha would have the best and most current information on it, but
Okay, well, as soon as I get something, I'll send it out, or Marilyn, if you know something.
I can say from my daily pickups, I'm not finding any bags on the streets anymore. And it used to be every day there'd be several. And in the last weeks, I literally do not see any at all,
That's
which is
great.
great.
That's great. Well, just shows you we really can have an impact.
Yeah, don't give them anything that you know, to throw away, because they will throw it on the streets. So just don't give it to them. You'll clean up the mess.
Okay, everybody. Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for all your hard work and everything you're doing to help us move to a more sustainable future here in the county. And happy Juneteenth, a few minutes early. So enjoy if you're off. A
Thank
very
you.
important day.
Yes,
Yes.
indeed.
Yes, indeed. It sure is. So let's all recognize that. And if you're off, enjoy your day. If you're not, just keep everything in mind, and we'll see you in July.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.